Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Von Manor, where today it is my March wrap up. Yes, it's wrap up time again, where I talk about all the books I read during the month and all the books I'm gonna read or try to read in the month ahead. So, in March, most of my time was spent reading one book, which was this one, Shogun, by James Clavell, Shogun, a novel of Japan. So it takes place in feudal Japan when the Englishman Blackthorn, who is a pilot, an English pilot for a ship that gets swept into Japan during a storm. And so Blackthorn has to learn to live in Japan and learn the ways of this new culture, which he initially finds terrifying and strange and weird. And, he just thinks it's all crazy and weird and scary. But as the novel progresses, he becomes more and more Japanese, actually, and he starts to see what's good about the Japanese culture and some of the things that aren't so great about his own culture. And so that is the most interesting part of this book. But this book is full of all the cool stuff you want in a historical novel. It's got action, it's got drama, it's got romance, it's got fantastic characters. The characters in this book are great. They all seem like real people. And there's a lot of political machinations and war and all kinds of stuff's going on in this book. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. And I was perfectly happy to spend most of the month reading this book. This book is what, 1,200? It's 1,211 pages in this edition that I've got here, which is an old copy from when the miniseries came out. And yeah, like I said, this book is dynamite. Really enjoyed this. I barely remember the show because I saw the show when I was just a kid. What was I, 10 or something? I don't remember how old I was when the show came out. But great book. Great book. It was so good that I am going to read the rest of the books in the Asian saga, which it's kind of a loose saga, I think. Every novel in it is about some place and something different in a different time. But what a great way to start the series. Shogun, magnificent book. Highly recommend it. Had a great time with it. So yeah, but that was most of my month right here with that. Also, I should mention that I also read this for comics. This is Tarzan the Complete Kubert Years. I did a Epic Comic Book Wednesday on this, so I felt like I should read it again. And this thing is 600 pages long. It's 600 magnificent pages, but it is 600 pages of comics. So this took a while also. This took some of my reading time as well. But like I said, I was perfectly happy that this took up that time because what a great, great book this is. A lot of fun, that book. So I also had time, though, to read a couple other things. One book that I read this month is Moon Lake by Joe R. Lansdale. A mystery novel by Joe R. Lansdale, and a really good one. It came out last year, and I got this on the Kindle last year when it came out, and I just haven't read it until now. But his books are usually pretty quick, entertaining reads, and so I thought I could squeeze it in this month, and I was able to. Excellent mystery. It kind of feels like his Hap and Leonard novels. It's got that flavor to it. Joe Lansdale is one of those writers where, like this book, if it didn't have his name on it and it was just like written by anonymous or something, you would know it was him within the first couple pages, because his writing has that distinct style to it. This book has that style, and it's great. It's not his best book, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. Definitely a good Lansdale book. And if you're interested in that writer, and you should be, Joe R. Lansdale, he's been writing for years and years, and he's really entertaining. He's put out a ton of really good books. And this is one of them. Just a cool, mystery crime novel that I really enjoyed. So Moon Lake, I recommend that book. So, but that didn't leave me time to read much else. So I started this one. I was hoping to finish this one this month. This is Stephen King's Danse Macabre. But I'm only halfway through it, which means it's going to be another day or two before I finish it. This is his take on the horror the horror genre in the mid 20th century. This was published in 81, I believe, so 80 or 81. It's escaping me at the moment, but basically the focus is from the 50s through the 70s up to 1980. So mid 20th century horror mostly, with a little bit before that. And it's interesting. I wouldn't say it's like I said, I'm halfway done. I read this before, but it was years ago. I wouldn't say it's the greatest, most scholarly take on the horror genre, but it's a really fun, chatty, entertaining take on it. And it's fun to see Stephen King's thoughts on the horror genre. His little autobiographical asides are probably the most entertaining parts of this book. But just his thoughts on what's scary and his thoughts about particular horror movies and horror books, that's the good stuff in this. That is what's worth reading in this. Stephen King is a phenomenon in himself. So just reading stuff like that is interesting. He has an interesting take on this stuff. So first half of this is great. I'm hoping the second half will be just as good. I'm sure it will be. So yeah, Danse Macabre. And so now let's talk about what I'm going to be reading next month. And that's a big I'm not entirely sure. There's a bunch of stuff I want to read next month, but I'm not going to get to it all. So I keep deciding, which of these books am I actually going to read? I don't know, but I'll show you the books that I want to read, and we'll see. There's only a couple books I know for sure I'm going to read. Like, these are the books that I know for sure I'm going to read. And one of those is another Stephen King book, and that's Cujo. I remember this being just kind of okay. Not that great of a Stephen King book. But I read this when I was very young. I was maybe 19 or 20 when I read this. Maybe. I might have been younger than that. AJ Dunn on AJ's channel, he did a review of this and he gave it 5 stars. AJ says it's great. It's a great book, according to AJ Dunn Reads and Writes. So that makes me want to read it. I'm like, am I just remembering this entirely wrong? Was this a great book? It might be. I've noticed every book I've read in my Stephen King read that I've read before, so far, I've had different feelings about than initially. Every book has been a very different experience. Reading these as a doddering senior citizen compared to when I was, a young person. So I'm sure this will be different as well. Will it be a 5-star read? I am skeptical, but we'll see. Maybe it will be. Maybe it's fantastic, but definitely I'm going to read this. Like, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm moving right on to that. Another book I know I'm absolutely going to read is This Ace Double, The Search for Zai by L. Sprague de Camp. But it's a double, so you flip it over, and it's the second part of the story, The Hand of Zai by L. Sprague de Camp. And the reason I've got to read this one, this was serialized originally in Astounding Science Fiction. And for my Astounding Science Fiction project, I'm reading every issue of Astounding this year from 1951. And this first issue, the January issue that I'm hoping to read this month, has the end of a serial. And the serial was this book. So I ordered this book. A couple viewers commented when I did that video on my project that this book was available, and so I ordered this right away. So I got to read this so I could finish the serial that ends in this and then read the rest of this magazine and then read the other 11 issues at some point this year. Not sure it'll be this month. There are a couple comics I have to read, though. One of them is for a read-along that I'm doing with Steve Donoghue and Matthew at Mayberry Bookclub. And that's going to be a read-along for this, Avengers Forever, a comic book read-along. This is an Avengers story. It was a 12-part miniseries that came out in the late 90s. I'm forgetting the year. I originally read it as a trade paperback. This exact trade paperback, actually, 20 years ago. And I remember at that time I had not read many Avengers stories, many of the back issues of Avengers, because they just weren't available easily. And this draws heavily on Avengers history. So I was a little lost as far as what was exactly going on in some parts of this book. I'm thinking I'll have a better time now with it because I've read a lot of Avengers since then. So I'll be doing a read-along with this, and I'll be giving you updates every week on Epic Comic Book Wednesday. Another comic I have to read for my next Epic Comic Book Wednesday is this. This is Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars, which was a comic book series that came out. I don't even remember when this came out. It was the mid-'80s? When did you come out? I don't even know. Does it even say? It probably says. But I don't have my glasses, so it's too small. But it was the mid-'80s or something when this came out. It came out basically as a miniseries to sell a bunch of toys. And it's basically about a bunch of villains and a bunch of superheroes that are taken to another planet by an all-powerful alien being, because alien beings are sometimes all-powerful when you need them to be. And so they were all taken to this planet to battle to find out who's better, good or evil. Dumb plot. And I remember this being a kind of a clunky series. And this is when I'm just a kid reading this, right? Now I might just find it total crap. But maybe not. You know, this is actually kind of a popular series. It was kind of an influential series. It made a mark, this series. You've got this nice Alex Ross cover on it. So I'm going to read it this weekend and just see what I make of it. You know, maybe it'll be fantastic this time. I don't know. We'll see. The artwork looks good. I'm not sure it's going to hold up through the whole thing, though. We'll see. So that's the comics I'm going to read. Now the books that which one of these books, or which of these books am I actually going to read? Probably the one that is top of my list on these is The Two Towers, because I read The Hobbit, I read The Fellowship of the Ring, didn't get to read this last month because I was too busy reading Shogun. So I definitely want to read this month if I can. After this month, we're moving right into Horror Mayhem, and I've got a whole TBR for that already. And then we're moving into June on the Range, which is going to be all Westerns for me. I'll talk more about June on the Range soon. So this is the one I want to get to the most. The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's been 20 years since I've read this, so I want to get to that. Another one I really want to get to is Necroscope 3, The Source. I've been wanting to get back to the Necroscope series forever. Brian Lumley's Necroscope, third book I've got here. Also want to read Doc Savage, the second book in the paperback series of Doc Savage, The Thousand-Headed Man. Want to read Doc Savage, man. Maybe. Another one I really, really want to read is Waylander by David Gemmell, but I'm guessing I'm probably not going to have time to read Waylander this month. Darn it. Another one is The Forsaken Boy by Troy Traduck. He sent me this book, and I really, really want to read it. But if I can't get to it this month, I'm going to sneak it into Horror Mayhem. I will read this book. If not this month, next month. Definitely am going to read this one. which leaves another book that I've really been wanting to read, which is Carry and Comfort by Dan Simmons. I've been wanting to. I got this book. This was kindly sent to me by the fabulous channel Book Time with Ryan. Ryan sent me this book, and I said, "Yeah, I'll read that." And I haven't read it yet, although I really want to. But this sucker is another big one. This is over 750 pages, so yeah, it's not looking likely that I'll get to this for probably another couple months, which sucks because I really want to read this. Too many books to read and not enough time. Okay, I guess I've jabbered on long enough. I'm not sure I'll have time to do a video for tomorrow, but I might. If I have the time, I'll do it. Then I will be back, I'm hoping, with the Sunday Penguin. So I will see you either tomorrow or the next day or something like that. Okay, guys, you have a great day.